Late on Friday night, after we finished our show here, there was a midnight-ish court filing from lawyers representing President Trump's former attorney and a longtime former Trump Organization executive, Michael Cohen. Now, you might have read press reports about this over the weekend or today. I will just tell you that of all the court filings we have seen in all of the court cases associated with the Russia investigation and the special counsel's investigation, this filing from midnight on Friday night, filed by Michael Cohen's lawyers arguing for lenience in his sentencing. This is like the best overlap we have yet seen in a single document between the circle that's marked important stuff from the Mueller investigation and a nearby circle marked really weird stuff related to the Mueller investigation. This is the place where important and weird overlap. This is a really important but really weird document all at the same time. What's strange about it is the almost surreal effort by Cohen's lawyers to portray Cohen as a saint-like figure who has devoted himself humbly toward helping others and the less fortunate throughout his life. I mean, and I know that defense lawyers are supposed to do that, but in this case, this is the guy who told that reporter from the Daily Beast, "What I'm going to do to you is going to be effing disgusting." Right? This is that same guy. But that is just some of the background music for this filing, which does make it a little bit hard to take. That said, there is a lot of really interesting and I think important information in this document. The filing describes Michael Cohen as a more than willing cooperator with a great number of investigations that are potentially affecting this president and his administration, including some investigations that I'm not sure we knew existed before this filing. In this sentencing memo that Cohen's lawyers have filed, they spell out that he's had 7 different interviews with prosecutors from Mueller's office, from the special counsel's office. He's had 2 separate interviews with investigators from the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York. The filing also says somewhat cryptically that in conjunction with those meetings with SDNY, Cohen has, quote, responded to questions concerning an ongoing investigation. We don't know what that ongoing investigation is in SDNY. The filing also says that Cohen has met with the New York Attorney General's office. This is the state Attorney General's office. And again, the filing makes some news here when it says that Cohen has met with the AG's office in conjunction with a lawsuit that office has brought against Trump's charity, against the Trump Foundation. That is something that we knew about, that lawsuit. But on top of that, he also provided the New York Attorney General with documents concerning a separate open inquiry. What is this separate open inquiry from the New York AG's office? We do not know. In addition to that, Michael Cohen has also met with and provided cooperation to the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance. And again, we do not know exactly what that is about, but Cohen and his lawyers say in this new filing that he's cooperated personally and he's provided information requested by that New York State agency, which of course is capable of bringing criminal charges. So Michael Cohen is helping prosecutors a lot. We knew that. We knew that Michael Cohen was definitely working with the special counsel's office, that he was more than enthusiastic about his cooperation when it came to matters pertaining to the president. But now we know that Michael Cohen is helping all of these different kinds of prosecutors with all these different cases, including some that we've never seen reference to before in public documents. So that's new. And from the White House perspective, there are also 2 pieces of information in the Cohen filing that are potentially quite worrying for the president and for the White House. First, you'll remember that what Cohen pled guilty to last week is lying to Congress. Lying to Congress in order to cover up certain aspects of the Trump Tower Moscow deal that President Trump and his business were secretly working on through a large portion of the 2016 presidential campaign. In this new filing, Cohen and his lawyers now say that the White House and Trump's legal counsel knew what he, Michael Cohen, was up to when it came to his congressional testimony, which he now admits was a lie. Quote, in the weeks during which his then counsel prepared his written response to the congressional committees, Michael remained in close and regular contact with White House-based staff and legal counsel to President Trump. So this doesn't say explicitly that President Trump or people working in the White House told Michael Cohen to lie to Congress. But if he was closely consulting with them about his testimony, and then what he submitted as his written testimony was a bunch of lies to benefit President Trump, well, honestly, that is not much of a leap. The other thing that is potentially worrying for the White House here is that when Michael Cohen admitted last week that he had been in direct contact with the Kremlin about this real estate deal, that was not only a public correction to lies that Michael Cohen had previously stated about the Trump Tower Moscow project. It was also a revelation that this secret real estate deal the president was working on in Russia and lying about during the campaign, it did involve direct communications between his business and high-level Russian government personnel. In this new filing, Michael Cohen says he, quote, kept client one apprised of these communications. And what that would seem to indicate is that not only did then candidate Donald Trump keep this Russian business deal secret throughout the campaign, he was kept apprised of the fact that those secret business dealings in Russia also included direct contact with the Kremlin to try to get Trump Tower Moscow built. That's the implication of what Michael Cohen has just filed with the court in New York. And if Trump knew that the Kremlin was directly involved in his pending secret real estate deal, I mean, that's the sort of thing a presidential candidate might be expected to mention while he's in the middle of praising the Kremlin as a presidential candidate and praising the Russian president personally, while the Russian president and his office and the Kremlin were actively working with his business at that moment to try to make him some money. But again, this is a filing from Michael Cohen's lawyers in the Russia scandal. It's a little weird, but it's also potentially important. And we're expecting to get a filing related to Cohen from the other side, from prosecutors in the special counsel's office, and we're expected to get that by the end of this week. So we've got the filing from Cohen. We're going to get the filing from prosecutors related to Cohen. That'll happen, we think, by Friday. But that's not all. This is going to be a busy and potentially very, very interesting week in the news when it comes to the investigation of the president and his campaign and when it comes to special counsel Robert Mueller. NBC News has learned tonight that there is going to be a new public-facing document tomorrow from the special counsel's office in the case of Mike Flynn, the president's former national security advisor who secretly talked to Russia about sanctions during the transition and then lied to the FBI about it. He has pled guilty to lying to the FBI. He's been cooperating with prosecutors. I think he's had his sentencing now put off 5 separate times. But Robert Mueller and his prosecutors, they say they are now ready, finally, to move ahead with sentencing Mike Flynn. And NBC News reports tonight that the sentencing document about Flynn that's expected from Mueller's office tomorrow, which will explain what's been going on with Mike Flynn for this past year, NBC reports tonight that that will be a public-facing document. It's possible that pieces of it may be redacted or that exhibits attached to it might be filed under seal, but at least the main document related to Flynn, explaining his role in this case, that is something that will be filed tomorrow, not under seal. According to NBC's reporting tonight, that'll be filed tomorrow in a way that we, the public, will be able to see it. I am very interested in seeing that document. But wait, there's more. Because Michael Isikoff reports at Yahoo News tonight that we, the public, are also going to get to see what Mueller's office is filing with the court this week about Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort. One of the huge stories in the Russia investigation last week, of course, was the collapse of the cooperation agreement between Paul Manafort, the president's campaign chair, and prosecutors at the special counsel's office. When Mueller's team told the court last week that Paul Manafort had breached his cooperation agreement, he'd lied to them, he had committed additional crimes even after he pled guilty and agreed to cooperate. At the time they made that announcement to the court, Mueller's team promised that they would soon inform the court in writing and in detail about the specifics of Paul Manafort's lies and his additional crimes. Well, Michael Isikoff reports at Yahoo News tonight that that document will be filed no later than Friday of this week, and it too will not be filed under seal. It will be a public-facing document. Here's Michael Isikoff reporting tonight at Yahoo News. Quote, there has been much speculation that Mueller might file his memo in Manafort's case under seal in order to prevent public disclosure of the additional crimes his office believes Manafort committed when he allegedly lied to prosecutors and broke a plea deal after agreeing to cooperate. But Peter Carr, spokesman for the special counsel, confirmed to Yahoo News today that the Manafort memo, quote, will be public, although he added there could be some portions that are redacted or filed as a sealed addendum. I have to tell you, part of the Isikoff scoop here is that he actually got the spokesman for the special counsel's office to say a word, to make a comment of any kind. Peter Carr is the spokesman for Robert Mueller's office, and I'm sure he is a very highfalutin person with very high-level skills. But right now, from the outside observer's perspective, Peter Carr has the easiest job on earth. His job is to sit silently while wearing a sign draped loosely around his face, which covers his mouth, and the sign says, "No comment," in calligraphy. That's all he does, no comment on everything. But in this case, he actually told Isikoff a thing. I can hear the angels singing. Wow. Again, Peter Carr telling Isikoff that the Mueller filing, long-awaited Mueller filing, will be publicly facing. And Isikoff actually also has an additional scoop in this same piece tonight. He says that Mueller's office met today with congressional investigators in the latest, in what has been an ongoing series of discussions that loosely fall under the heading of deconfliction. I mean, technically, congressional investigations and the investigation led by the special counsel's office, they're separate matters, and they can proceed totally independent of one another. In reality, congressional investigators often, not always, but often, they want to take care to make sure they're not doing anything that's going to mess with Mueller, that's going to mess with this active criminal counterintelligence investigation that's being run by Mueller's team. I mean, I say it's often, but not always. Sometimes House Republicans, in particular, have enjoyed messing with that investigation as much as they possibly can. But the norm is that they should try not to. And when they're trying not to interfere with that ongoing investigation, they have these deconfliction discussions to say, hey, you know, if we go after these witnesses, if we pursue these particular lines of inquiry and these types of evidence and testimony, will we be screwing up what you are doing at the Justice Department? So they have these discussions, and they have been happening in an ongoing way. What Michael Isikoff reports tonight at Yahoo News is that one congressional investigator was, quote, surprised to learn at this meeting with Mueller's office today that Mueller is no longer worried about anything congressional committees might pursue or turn up. Quote, Mueller today talked to congressional investigators as part of an ongoing discussion about whether new subpoenas for testimony by House and Senate committees might interfere with Mueller's investigation. The response, which surprised one investigator, was that it would not, at least in matters relating to alleged obstruction by the White House in the Russia investigation itself. All right. Now, this is a single source speaking to reporter Michael Isikoff, but Michael Isikoff is a careful and excellent investigative reporter. He's one of the best investigative reporters this country has ever produced. And so I fully believe that there is a reason he put this single source attribution comment in his piece. And if what Michael Isikoff is reporting here is correct, this is a big freaking deal, right? This is intriguing. According to this new reporting from Isikoff, there's nothing any congressional committee might do on the issue of obstruction of justice that might get in the way of what Mueller is doing now. Because Mueller is done with everything he might want to do related to obstruction of justice? Or Mueller isn't pursuing anything on obstruction of justice? I mean, that's, you know, woe if true, as they say. That's remarkable, because in this case, there's a lot of potential obstruction of justice. I mean, and you will remember that in the impeachment articles against both President Bill Clinton and President Richard Nixon, obstruction of justice was front and center in terms of what presidents were held accountable for when charged with high crimes and misdemeanors. So this is very intriguing reporting tonight from both NBC News and Michael Isikoff, which raises a lot of interesting questions as to what's going on with this investigation into the president. But it also means you're definitely going to have a very busy week in the news. There's a lot of these documents that are going to be filed, some of which look like they are going to be red hot and seriously informative in terms of what's going on with the special counsel's investigation right now. We had thought heading into this week, knowing that all these court filing deadlines were coming up, that maybe all those documents or some of those documents would be filed under seal. It seems like at least the bulk of them are going to be public facing. So it's going to be a big week. Eat your Wheaties. One of the things we want to highlight tonight on the show, just to let you know this is coming, is another legal matter, but it is a totally unrelated, totally separate legal matter. And this one's going to start to unfold in a courtroom tomorrow in Florida. For all the federal court drama that we have followed with the Trump administration scandals, right, Russia-related and otherwise, one of the challenges for us in reporting on these legal dramas on TV is that all of this stuff has been happening in federal court. And there's no cameras in federal court. So we get occasionally an audio recording of an oral argument. When we're lucky, we get courtroom transcripts of what happens in the court, right? And then poor you have to sit through me reading them out loud and being a bad actor with the transcripts. But there's no cameras in court. And so conveying the court drama it's not a reporting challenge, but it means you have to do it in a specific way. What is about to start unfolding tomorrow in a state court in Florida, though, is a case in which there will be cameras in court. And I think that's going to end up being very important, because this is a case that is, and probably should be, an absolute nightmare for the Trump administration, and in particular for one Trump cabinet secretary. That case starts tomorrow, and we've got that story next.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.